Members, before we move into the order of business, I'd like to just take a privilege from the chair, if you don't mind, and let you know that State Representative David Wheeler of Vestavia Hills died this morning. Most of you know that. He was 72 years old. He was the representative of House District 47 in Jefferson County. People of District 47 and all of Alabama have lost a devoted servant, and I've lost a good friend. It was rare that David came to the microphone to speak on legislation, but when he did, his words carried a lot of weight. We could agree to disagree. He respected the process. He was a hard worker for his district and the people of Alabama, and he will be missed in this House body. And at this time, I want to recognize Representative Carnes, Chairman of the Jefferson County Delegation, to speak. Representative Carnes.
I probably knew David as well as anybody. We spent a lot of time together. I knew him. Very few knew that he had a distinguished career with Alabama Power as a federal lobbyist in Washington, D.C. So when he came to Montgomery, he was well-versed in the political process. However, there was a lot of times that we spent talking about delicate details on how things work here, and he was an astute student of this game. He loved it. He wouldn't miss a day in Montgomery for anything. He took his job extremely seriously. He was a patriot. He was someone that was a strong family man. If he was your friend, you could go to the foxhole with him. And I went with him several times, and I will dearly, dearly miss him. May we bow our heads. Father, we thank you for the life of David Wheeler. Father, we thank you that you brought him our way. Father, we thank you for the influence he had in wherever he was and whatever he did. And Father, we know that he enjoyed the process here in Montgomery. I am so glad that he was able to come here and be blessed by this process and be a blessing to the process. Father, we ask that he rest in peace and enjoy his time with you. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Chairman Carnes. And, of course, his machine will be lockout today, and we have posted a flag over at his seat out of respect for him and his presence there in this chamber. All right. You may be seated. Now we'll have the report from Committee on Rules.
House of Representatives, your Standing Committee on Rules begs leave to report that it has carefully examined the Journal of the House for the 19th Legislative Day and finds the same to be correct. Representative Mike Jones, Chairman.
And the gentleman from Covington, Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the reading of the Journal for the 19th Legislative Day be dispensed with and that absent representatives be excused for this legislative day.
And members, you've heard the motion before you. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and the motion is adopted. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Clark, Representative Jackson, for a moment of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to acknowledge the joy that I had serving with David. Last year, we passed House Bill, I think it was 216, related to the Epilepsy Foundation and the schools of people getting training to help children who had episodes in their schools. David co-sponsored that bill with me, and he helped us get it through the Senate. And I just want to say this morning when I got my alert on my phone, my heart was broken. A man that you don't have no problem getting to know. He was one of those type guys that he was with you, and if he wasn't with you, you knew, and he didn't have no hard feelings against you. So I'm grateful, and to his family and friends, Our prayers that God will give you peace of mind, comfort, and strength to endure this storm of life. And may he rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Amen, and thank you for those words of comfort. All right, members, we've got some guests with us today. We wanted to recognize we have with us some Cherokee County Commissioners right over here to my left. Y'all stand up so we can say hello to you and welcome to the House of Representatives. Mr. Ronnie Shaw from Center and Reverend Randy Jones from Center. And that, I believe, Reverend Jones, that you've got a son involved in this legislative process, haven't you? Are you showing him and telling him the right way to go? Okay, good. All right. That's Senator Jones's father, the special guest of Jenny Shaver and the House of Representatives. All right, let's go ahead now. And the gentleman from Mobile, Dr. Gaston, you recognized for announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been asked to make the following two announcements. One is the Tourism Bash will be held tonight from 5 until 8 p.m. at the RSA Activities Center. Also, the Alabama Retired State Employees Association will host a legislative reception this evening honoring members of the Alabama Legislature. This event will be held from 4:30 until 7 at the RSA Plaza Terrace. It remains to be seen whether we will be allowed to go or not.
Well, hopefully we will all work together, and maybe everybody working together, we can take a break and have a
Good idea.
break.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. And the chair thanks the gentleman. If you have any questions on the announcements, just contact the Pro Tem's office or the Speaker's office. All right, the clerk will now receive reports from standing committees, and we'll be receiving those throughout the course of the afternoon and evening. The House is now in the position for the introduction of bills and resolutions, and we'll be receiving those until the clerk finishes his paperwork at the end of the day. Now the House will receive the report from the Committee on Rules, the resolutions.
House Joint Resolution number 121 by Representative Gavan celebrating the life of Mr. Lionel James. House Joint Resolution number 124 by Representative Meadows commending Robert W. Pickett, Jr. for service to the State Employees Insurance Board.
Chairman Jones, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move adoption of the resolutions of congratulations, commendation, condolence, and sympathy as favorably reported by the Committee on Rules.
All right, members, you've heard the motion before you, the adoption of these resolutions. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And the resolutions are adopted. And Mr. Clerk, that's all the resolutions I'm showing from, okay? All right. Let's go now to the next order of business will be the first uncontested local bill on the regular calendar. Mr. Clerk.
On page 43 of the calendar, House Bill number 247 by Representative Ingram relating to Montgomery County.
All right, the question before us now is going to be on the adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote will be aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Voting on the BIR, local bill 247. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 50 yeas, 0 nays, 40 abstentions. The BIR is adopted. Now, members, we're on final passage of House Bill 247. If you're in favor of this bill, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members voted? Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 28 yeas, 0 nays, 68 abstentions, and House Bill 247 is passed. Mr. Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 43 of the calendar, House Bill number 258 by Representative Morris relating to Montgomery County.
All right, members, the question before us now is going to be the adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 53 yeas, 0 nays, 43 abstentions. The BIR is adopted. And now, members, we are on final passage of House Bill 258. If you're in favor of this bill, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Voting on final passage. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 24 yeas, 0 nays, 77 abstentions, and House Bill 258 is passed. Mr. Clerk, call the next local bill.
On page 43 of the calendar, House Bill number 236 by Representative Ledbetter relating to Cherokee County.
All right, members, the question before now is, I'm sorry, Chairman Jones.
Mr. Speaker, the sponsors asked that be carried over once again.
Okay, so we're going to carry it over again.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are any objections to carrying over the local bill? Hearing none, that bill will be carried over. Okay. And, Mr. Clerk, that's all the local bills I'm showing. All right. Okay. All right. Mr. Clerk, let's go ahead and call up the Senate message that we have on House Bill 272.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has amended as therein shown and as amended has passed the following House bill and returned same herewith to the House of Representatives. House Bill number 272 relating to firearms.
And the chair recognizes Representative Stringer. You're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The bill had some changes when it came back from the Senate from the original version. I can explain a few of the changes. There was an issue with language dealing with a police officer taking a person's weapon. That was a problem or problematic that we're going to look at or consider. There was also some language relating to the private property business owners, the language of the signs that needed to be addressed. And at the proper time, I would make the motion that we non-concur and go to conference.
All right, members, you've heard the motion that is before you now on the motion to non-concur on the Senate message on House Bill 272. At this time, the chair will recognize, the chair will recognize the lady from Madison, Representative Hall, speaking on the motion to non-concur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman here,
Yes, ma'am.
are you able to tell me what the specific changes say?
Yes,
As
ma'am.
you said, there were two.
Yes,
On
ma'am.
taking the weapon.
They actually substituted our bill upstairs.
I'm
and
sorry?
They substituted the bill,
Okay.
and I've got a list of the changes, if you would like a copy of that.
I think it is appropriate that we would hear what those changes are, even
Sure.
though you're going.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
The first one, it restores the ability of the persons with a pistol permit to go on private property with a concealed permit. The second allowed property owners to communicate lack of consent for pistol possession on that private property via signage or otherwise notifying the person directly that they do not have consent. The next,
Stop right there.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this one dealing with private property allows what to happen with private property?
That the private property owner would basically be able to put up no weapon signs to notify someone that,
That they should not have them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And the one that you said, the first one, the statement was if the weapon is taken?
Ma'am.
Well, the first statement you made was related to a weapon being taken?
No, ma'am. The first one is the ability of a person with a pistol permit to go on private property,
Okay.
and that's current law now.
But you're saying, in addition, they changed it and said that that property owner could put a sign up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the next thing?
The next was that carrying a pistol on private property without the owner's consent is prosecuted only as a criminal trespass in third degree.
Okay. All right.
The next that would add that weapons are not allowed in the primary office of any elected official.
Okay. Not allowed in office. Okay. Okay.
The next change was amendments in reference to the definition of court annexes to specify mention of probate courts.
I can't hear Mrs. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. I can't hear.
All righty.
Thank you. I've called you 3 times. Thank you.
I couldn't hear either.
Thank you. That was obvious. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. The next authorizes law enforcement to temporarily take a person's firearm into custody upon reasonable belief that that person is engaged or going to engage in criminal conduct or is a danger to the officer or any individual for the limited purpose of ensuring persons is not prohibited from firearm possession.
This is serious. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, members, he's going over issues that we probably should all be listening to so we would know. And let's try to hold our voices down until we can get this discussion done.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you.
Yes, sir.
That the firearm is not connected with a crime or subject to a court order, that the firearm has serial numbers, and that the person is not an immediate threat.
So there are 2 things I heard. The law enforcement, if they have a reasonable belief that someone has committed a crime or going to commit a crime,
Yes, ma'am.
that you can take that weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
But if they, then what's the part about the serial number? It must have a serial number.
Yes, ma'am.
And if it doesn't have a serial number, then it becomes a criminal act.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
The next prohibits a person from knowingly touching a pistol during an investigative stop by law enforcement, and that would be a Class C misdemeanor.
So if the police stops or someone stops me and the person say, I have a weapon and reaches it and touches it, then it becomes that's what I'm imagining.
Well, and that was the whole reason that we defined brandishing in our original bill, was to make sure the law enforcement officers had a good understanding of what this meant, which was the holstered or untouching of a weapon versus the brandishing, which is pulling it out in a threatening manner, was defined in the original bill, which is good language for law enforcement.
Right, and they removed that, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
And then the last thing that they added was establish the local government pistol permit revenue loss fund with a DECA to be distributed to counties based on pistol permit revenues as reported to the Department of Examiners through public accounts. And this was to address any of the concerns that there may be funds lost, that any of our sheriff's departments may lose funds for decreased permit sales.
So are you saying, so all of the funds, the way you read it, all funds that are collected locally would be sent to a DECA?
No, ma'am. What it's saying is that if a sheriff, once this bill passes, that if a sheriff can prove or show that they had loss, like if they're selling $100,000 worth of permits this year, next year when this bill passes, they only made $80,000. Then this fund would be and grant process would be set up for the sheriffs to apply to recuperate or try to recover some of that money.
And where would those dollars come from?
It's in the state budget.
So it would be allocated?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
And the chair thanks the lady. All right. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Lee County, Representative Blackshear, speaking on the... Okay. All right. The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now they sent this back down for us to concur. So you don't want us to concur with this. Can you
Ma'am.
tell me why?
I'm sorry, I can't hear
You
you.
said you don't want to concur, so tell me why.
That's correct. I had a concern with that Section 5 dealing with if a police officer has reasonable belief that a person has committed a crime, they could take their weapons. And I was kind of concerned about the reasonable belief because that is not a legal term that is used in law enforcement or the court system.
Okay. So if they believe that somebody just committed a crime with a gun, just robbed the store, and everything come back, this car, the description of the young man or whoever,
Yes, ma'am.
that's reasonable belief. Am I right or wrong?
No, ma'am, that's probable cause.
Okay, but if I said the person was driving a black Cadillac or a black SUV, he had on a black hoodie or a white shirt, blue jeans, blue cap, and you see, even give the tag number, and then they see this, so they cannot.
Yes, ma'am, they still would be able to do that. That's probable cause that would allow that.
So one thing about this bill I really don't understand. I know we're not on it again, but if you go out of town, you still have to have a permit, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're putting the cart before the horse because you still got to get a permit in order to go out of town with a gun or to drive from Alabama to Georgia, Mississippi, wherever.
In certain conditions and certain situations, you still will. Yes, ma'am.
So why did we have to even introduce this bill anyway if we still got to get the permit?
Well, I mean, like we all do, we carry legislation for our constituents in our district, and, you know, that's exactly what's going on here. I'm just carrying a bill for my constituents in my district and for other citizens across the state to address this issue.
So with this bill, like you said, you're carrying it for somebody else, but in your heart, just like you said last time, you're going to continue to get your permit. Am I right?
Yes,
Is this
ma'am.
what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
But you're carrying a bill that it calls for no permit, but yet it's still, you don't believe in it, but you're going to get your permit.
Yeah, I would still get my permit.
To me, that's unreal. And this is not a good bill, no matter whether you concur or non-concur, because you still have to have a permit. You still got to spend those $7 or $10, whatever it is, to get a permit. And you stood here yourself and said you're going to continue to get yours. I know I'm going to continue to get mine. So what is the reason for the bill? Just because somebody asked you to carry it
Yes,
and
ma'am.
get it passed?
Yes, ma'am, and there will be a lot of constituents and a lot of citizens that will not get their permits, that do not cross state lines. And in my district, I have a lot of elderly people that have guns, have weapons, that have a hard time driving 30 or 40 miles from our community to the sheriff's office to attempt to get their permit, and they do not cross state lines. They only drive in our communities and around, and that's major to them. They're having a hard time with that. And then, you know, during COVID, when we had COVID going on, there was 3 or 4 months that you couldn't even get a permit, where I had constituents that drove to the sheriff's department to attempt to renew their permit, and they were closed.
Well, you know, they did have it online.
Yes, ma'am, and it was backed up about 3 months, 4 months.
It was online, and then during that time of COVID, they automatically sent you your pistol permits without you paying for them. I know
No,
Jefferson.
ma'am.
I know
No, ma'am.
Jefferson. I'm saying Jefferson County did.
Yeah, no, ma'am.
I don't know about your county, but
Yeah.
our county did.
No, Mobile County did not. And,
Okay.
you know, and a lot of the elderly people that I'm dealing with don't have internet or don't even have access to the online stuff. So they're used to doing the old-fashioned traditional way, and some of them have just not came around to doing it the modern and online way.
So you still believe in your heart that this is a good bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna pray for you because I think it's a bad bill, but in my heart, I just think this bill is opening up the doors for trouble. You know, I had a 13-year-old young man to get shot, and he was holding his baby brother on the porch.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody came down the street shooting, and his funeral will be this Saturday
Yes, ma'am.
at Bush Lawn Funeral Home.
Yes, ma'am.
And just in Jefferson County, we have lost 7 students from Winona High School, Parker High School, and Carver High School under the age of 17 to 15.
Yes, ma'am.
Standing in the wrong place, somebody shooting, and they got shot.
And that's kind of my point exactly. I mean, we have pistol permits now, and we're still having.
No, because some of these didn't have pistol permits.
But it did not
And-
stop that crime. It
but
did
guess
not
what?
stop that kid from getting.
No, it didn't stop the kids from getting murdered.
Yes, ma'am.
But yet and still, when they caught them, they didn't have a pistol permit, this, that, and other. So actually, the gun was taken. They was taken to jail. But even those that do have pistol permits, I don't think they do stupid stuff like this.
Yes, ma'am.
Most time you see young men, young ladies, or whoever with guns, they even bought them off the street, under the cover somewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't buy them outright right.
Yeah, and that's where the prohibited person database that we passed last year will come into play and address some of the ones that are buying these guns on the street that are prohibited. So now the officer will know when he pulls them over and runs them if they are prohibited, if they have a weapon or on their person or in their car, then it can be addressed at that point.
But this also opened it up that they don't have to. They don't have to be in the database. They can still buy a gun off the street. A young man or young lady in high school, 13, 14, 15, just go buy a gun off the street with this bill, and nothing can be said.
This bill don't change where you can or cannot buy a gun or who can or cannot buy a gun. If a child or a
But if
teenager buys,
but I'm just saying, if they buy a gun
yes, ma'am.
and the police see it, they could take that gun
They
for
still
13,
can.
14, 15, 16.
Yes, ma'am. This don't
You know.
change the laws on that, and law enforcement will still be able to arrest that 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old and take them to one of the youth centers or youth detention centers to address. So,
And the age for now is 18 to get a gun?
no, ma'am.
What?
19.
19?
Yes, ma'am.
Not 21.
No, ma'am.
Wow. Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much.
And the chair thanks the lady. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Madison, Representative Reynolds. We're still speaking on the motion to non-concur.
Thank you, Representative. Do you yield?
Yes, sir.
So, just kind of walk me through this right quick. Just want to try to confirm a few things. You recall the email that I had sent you that law enforcement asked for. I think I sent it to you over the weekend when we were deliberating about this bill. It's about 2.5 pages.
I do
Some
recall
of
the
which we
email,
took
but I don't.
Some of which that we took my amendment out of.
I don't recall the email. I do recall a email, but I do not recall the exact contents of it.
And it was related to police powers. You know, it was related to the do not touch, and it was had to duty to declare.
Yes,
and
sir.
all those was in there.
Yes, sir.
So basically, once this went up to the Senate, really what they added was exactly what law enforcement asked for, right?
Correct.
But yet the verbiage was changed, right? Some of the verbiage was changed about some of the areas of concern I think you have related to reasonable cause.
It may have been. Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, that was not consistent with what we saw the first time, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. And then the paragraph that we discussed and you agreed upon related to police powers, I think we both feel that clearly covers what your concerns are now once the verbiage was changed related to reasonable cause, right?
Maybe so. I'm trying to wrap my brain around what you're saying.
Yeah,
so.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I think everything the Senate did was exactly what law enforcement was asking for. Clearly, the verbiage was changed.
Yes, sir.
And then you and I both agree that the verbiage we came back with in our amendment, the law enforcement amendment, gives police powers to do exactly what the words were changed to imply in this bill today. And that's the reason why you're non-concurring.
No, I'm just concerned with some of the language in it, the reasonable belief. I'm just concerned on how that will be construed or how that will be interpreted by our law enforcement community.
Sure.
And
that's the point I was trying to make, I guess, and you and I discussed this, is I feel like we had wording in there that covers that traffic stop.
Yes, sir.
Before it went up was amended.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Yep. Thank you.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Covington, Chairman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You had fun yet?
We're getting there.
Okay. Well, obviously there were some changes that came out of the Senate on this, and you and I both have gone through them pretty well. And some of the changes are such that, frankly, they're probably stuff that we don't like, but we could live with. There's some other changes that, frankly, are more of a problem. And there are things that we actually did our due diligence on this floor and chose not to go those routes because of vetting it on this floor.
Correct.
And those are the things that are the most concerning, as you know. And I think if we can take up those issues, that I think that we can get back to having what I'm going to refer to as a good, clean bill.
Yes, sir.
That would be good for gun owners and it would be good for business, and that we could all be on the same page as best we can. And this is not detracting from the protections that we put in place for law enforcement. That's equally important, as you know, because your background and mine.
Correct.
That we're not in any way lessening that and trying to detract from that. But we also don't want to open up a door that invites an inexperienced officer or a potential bad officer from taking advantage of language because it's just too broad. And those are things that, once again, that are just a little bit concerning. So I think with that in mind, I think that if we non-concur and go to a conference committee and can work through those issues,
yes,
then, and I have confidence that I think we can,
yes,
that I believe we can come back to this body and also back to the Senate with something that we can all be comfortable voting on.
Yes, sir.
And so I appreciate your work on this. I appreciate your willingness to kind of endure some of the suffering that goes with a difficult bill. But thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, and members, I believe the question before us now is going to be on the motion from the sponsor of the bill to non-concur. If you are in favor of that motion, your vote will be aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Voting on the motion to non-concur. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members voted? All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 71 yeas, 13 nays, 16 abstentions, and the motion does prevail. All right, and now with the motion non-concur, we need to set up the conference committee. All right, the conferees will be the sponsor of the bill, Representative Stringer, Chairman Jones, gentleman from Covington, and Representative Ralph Howard will be the conferees for this bill. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Yes, sir. Chair thanks the gentleman. All right. The chair now recognizes Chairman Jones for a resolution.
Mr. Speaker, I have a resolution.
Clerk, see the resolution.
House Resolution number 140 by the House Rules Committee, the special order calendar.
And Chairman Jones?
I move adoption.
All right. The question is adoption of the special order calendar. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the special order calendar is adopted. All right. Mr. Clerk, if you'll call the first bill on the special order.
On page 8 of the calendar, House Bill number 162 with substitute by Representative Greer relating to taxation.
And the chair recognizes
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Geary.
Senate Bill 162, as introduced, gave an exemption up to $30,000 a year on defined contributions. Let me back up and say there are two types of retirement. You got defined benefit, which is all government, it's private pensions, it's everything of that nature. And this bill has absolutely nothing to do with that. Then you've got defined contributions, and we did the research in the 14 states, and here it is right here if anybody wants to get a copy. And Alabama, we're the only state in the 14. Now, 3 states don't have income tax. That's Texas, Florida, and Tennessee. But the other 11 treat everybody alike. Now, North Carolina gives nobody a break. Whether you define benefit or define contribution, you pay till you die. But the other states, all except Alabama, give defined benefit and defined contribution the same thing. And the bill that I introduced was going to cost the state about $76 million a year. And currently, the defined benefit plan is costing the state about $464 million a year. So we were going to add a little to that. But the Senate, the substitute that the committee came up with copied Louisiana's law. And it just says that if you get a $6,000 a year exemption, but you got to be age 65. So, Mr. Speaker, at proper time, I'd like to move that we adopt the substitute.
Well, let's go to the BIR first.
Okay.
Let's get the BIR adopted first.
If any questions, I'll certainly try to answer them.
Okay. All right. And the chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson County, Representative Garrett, be the first person speaking on the BIR.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. Will you yield?
Yes.
I want to thank you for bringing this bill. This is one of the bills that we mentioned yesterday in the budget package where we're passing $200 million of tax relief. This is one of the really important bills that provides tax relief to individuals over age 65 who have retirement income in a defined contribution account. So this is a very good bill. It's a good tax break to people over 65. And appreciate you bringing it, and it's part of our tax reduction measures we're taking as a legislature.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Shelby County, Representative Mooney, second person speaking on the BIR.
Thank you, sir. Representative Greer, thank you. You worked for a lot of years, hard, labored for long, long periods of time trying to help the people of our state in relation to the problems we have with the retirement system and finding ways to benefit people. I just come to say how much I appreciate that. I know you're planning to retire this year, and it's been a joy to be associated with somebody who's passionate about solving a major problem we have in our state long term, and this is just part of it. But thank you so much for what you've done. It means a great deal to me, and it's been a great shining example to some of us to pay attention for the future. Thank you so much.
I appreciate your support, Representative Mooney. Let me point out one other thing. We have had it for quite a few years, and you know, it's a good bill. I heard a senator last week make this statement here in Montgomery that he said if you belong to some group or some organization, you do quite well with the Alabama legislature. But if you just a working family out there like these people are, you sometimes get left out, and that's what we've done, Representative Mooney.
I agree
But thank
completely.
goodness for the first time, we're going to bring them in the group. And this will give them somewhere around $230, $240 a year, but that'll probably do most of their income tax return.
It's one of the few things we've done in the 7 years. I guess this is the 8th year I've been here to give something back to the people of the state of Alabama. Thank you for leading us in this process.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, members, the question before us now is going to be the adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote will be aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members voting. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 101 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. The BIR is adopted. Now, Chairman Greer, I think we're back on the substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, and the substitute just simply does this. It takes out the $30,000 that the bill had and just copies Louisiana out of the 14 states. They offer less than any, and so we copied that. And it just simply says on page 7, beginning January the 1st, 2023, the first $6,000 of taxable retirement income is what we're exempting. And it says this exemption may only be claimed by individual taxpayers who are 65 years of age or older. And, Mr. Speaker, with no question, I move adoption of the substitute.
All right, and this is a committee sub. You've heard explanation of the substitute. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Clark, Representative Jackson, speaking on the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so very kindly. I just want to ask the gentleman bringing this bill, he bring it on the day of finalization, then he bring the information we need before we brought the bill. Now, how much money you said we're going to save with the substitute?
Well, today, defined benefit plans in Alabama, and we are doing nothing. We're not touching that plan. They cost in the state, I believe, somewhere around $464 million annually. The bill I introduced would have cost the state $76 million annually. And what this bill does, according to the Finance Department, it costs $26 million annually. But for the first time in history, we've been fair to everybody. We're giving everybody a break on their retirement. Like I say, we're #1 in the nation, if you want to look it up on the internet, on defined benefit, because you can retire at any age and be 100% exempt. We got folks in Alabama making over $500,000 a year on retirement, paying 0 state income tax. And then we got folks out here struggled all their lives, working couples, and they're paying till the day they die. And we all know that's just not fair. Let's be fair for a change and treat everybody alike.
I'm so glad to hear you use that term, fair. And I agree with you 100%, but you have to be 65 years of age and older before that occurred, don't you?
Yeah, we got it.
Fairness don't start when you get 65. It should start from the cradle. I heard you say 65 years and above.
You got to be 65 to draw the benefit. And that's the same as Louisiana. Louisiana, you got to be 65, and theirs is capped at $6,000 per individual, and that's what the committee substitute does. It just copied Louisiana's law and says you exempt. Once you reach age 65, you come exempt up to $6,000.
Okay. Now, what if I want to retire in 25 years?
At when?
In 25.
Well, you can't come under this plan. You got to be age 65.
That's what I want you to say. We got it. We got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, members, the question before us now is going to be the adoption of the substitute by the committee. If you're in favor of the committee sub, your vote is aye. If you oppose, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machines. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 100 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. The committee sub is adopted. Chairman Greer, we're back on the bill.
If there's no other questions, I move passage, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Seeing none, it'll be on final passage of House Bill 162 as substituted. If you're in favor of this bill, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 100 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and House Bill 162 is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to say the people of Alabama ought to really praise the Speaker of this body and the Chairman of the Education Committee, Representative Garrett, for the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your work. All right, clerk, call the next bill on special order.
On page 29 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 83 with amendment by Senator Melson relating to airports.
And Representative South, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill would create the Alabama Airport Economic and Infrastructure Program within the Alabama Department of Transportation. There will be an amendment to kind of that here in just a second, but it's a grant program for improvements for commercial airports and general aviation airports. It is agreed upon between both the CAs and the GAs as to how the money will be dispersed. And this bill would provide that the proportion of funds that would be awarded to general aviation and commercial service airports under the program and the percentages and how that money is distributed. We are not funding this program currently, and this would just set up a mechanism by which we would use in the case of federal infrastructure funding or other funds that may come to us.
All right, members, you've heard explanation of the bill. We're on the BIR, and the chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Coleman, first person speaking on the BIR.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. My reason for rising actually is not about this particular bill, except for the fact that it's a Senate bill. Do we have a running number yet of how many House bills are being passed upstairs versus Senate bills down here?
We do. As a matter of fact, at the close of the session, we'll go over those numbers. We're not too far out of line.
That's what I'm asking. Are we kind of?
Yeah, we're not too far out of line when you add in the sunset bills from the Senate. But keep in mind that a lot of these bills that are Senate bills are being substituted by members themselves.
That's
on
correct.
The calendar.
I've seen that happen a couple of times.
So
yes,
we need to keep that in mind.
Okay, yeah. I'm just asking because you know sometimes what happens, they'll hold our stuff upstairs, but we're continually passing those bills.
It's time we start paying attention to that number. So I respect that. All right, members, the question before us now is going to be on the adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 100 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. The BIR is adopted. And Representative South, we're back on the bill now.
Yes, sir. I do have a committee amendment.
All right.
The amendment actually further explains how the grant process will work. It will actually be administered through an intergovernmental agreement between ALDOT and ADECA. We do fund a program currently through ADECA, and so this is just marrying the two up, and it further clarifies that we're not using current ALDOT funding for the program.
Okay, you've heard explanation of the committee amendment on Senate Bill 83. If you are in favor of this amendment, your vote will be aye. If you oppose, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted? All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 100 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. The committee amendment is adopted. Representative South, we're back on the bill.
Mr. Speaker, if there are no further questions, I move for final passage as amended.
All right, seeing no questions, we're on final passage as amended. If you're in favor of this bill, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 101 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and Senate Bill 83 is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members of the body.
And thank you for your work. Clerk, call the next bill on special order.
On page 30 of the calendar, House Bill number 382 by Representative Blackshear relating to taxation.
And Chairman Blackshear, you're recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 382, currently RVs, motorhomes, and travel trailers are not included in your drive-out exemptions as automobiles are in the state of Alabama. This was changed back in 2015 when they were having some issues with Alabama residents purchasing motorhomes or pull-behind campers, and they were setting up an LLC and license in the state of Montana, but still staying in the state of Alabama. So about 6 months ago, this came up with an RV dealership in my district that's lost over $2 million in sales in 2021. And if you look across the state, this has really affected the RV sales and dealerships across the state, especially in bordering counties. So what this bill does is it puts back in travel trailers and RVs and motorhomes and pull-behinds back into the drive-out exemption. We've been working over the last 6 months with the Department of Revenue and also the Automobile Dealers Association to make sure there would be no unintended consequences or impacts on them. So hopefully we can get this back out there and give our RV dealerships an opportunity to continue to grow with their sales. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I move for the BIR.
All right, and I believe that's the question before us. The chair recognizes the lady from Madison, Representative Hall. First person speaking on the BIR.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman here.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure I heard you right. That the change that I see it's on page 7. Now you said something about Montana. I'm trying to understand.
Right. Yes, so this would have been before my time, so you'd have been here. So in 2015, there was a bill passed. So for all the years leading up to 2015, motorhomes and travel trailers and pull-behinds and campers were a part of the drive-out exemption. So like an automobile purchase.
Were a part of what?
Drive-out exemption. So you wouldn't pay the state taxes in Alabama or your local taxes. You would, if it was you were driving out of state, you had 72 hours to leave the state, and then you would just pay your license in whatever state, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, wherever your home place
Wherever
was.
you landed.
Wherever you were, wherever you lived.
Okay.
So there was an issue with Alabamians pulling up in their whatever tag number, they live in Alabama, buying an RV, and they would go set up an LLC in Montana, which you pay like a one-time sales tax, and you would avoid thousands and thousands of dollars of sales tax. So a bill was passed by this body in 2015 that pulled RVs and campers and pull-behinds out of the drive-out exemption. So what happens today, with it being out, is I use my dealership as an example. So if you purchase one, say you come from Tennessee or Georgia, let's do Georgia.
Purchased in Tennessee.
If you come to Alabama right now, let's use my example.
From Tennessee. Okay.
Tennessee or any other state outside of Alabama.
Okay, go ahead.
You would pay your city tax in Alabama, county tax in Alabama,
Okay.
sales tax in Alabama.
Okay.
Then you would have to turn around and go back and pay your full taxes again in your state, your county, your city. You're basically being double taxed because you're getting no drive-out exemption as you do for an automobile purchase in the state of Alabama when you leave the state.
All right.
So what this is doing is just putting RVs and motorhomes and campers and pull-behinds back in the drive-out exemption as it was prior to the legislation that passed in 2015.
So, but you mentioned something about we were losing money with
Well,
the.
You're losing sales. So my dealership lost over $2 million in sales because people are like, I'm not paying double taxes. I'll just go somewhere else and look for my purchase.
So the stories I heard during COVID, how the number of people were buying, we're talking about these travel trailers, right?
Hmm?
That they were saying that your story is different than the story that we read, that how the number of people were buying these, and it was difficult to even find travel trailers.
Now, I wouldn't be aware of that. I hadn't seen that report. I just know from my dealership in my district. Actually, it's in Representative Gray's district. It butts up to our district. It's about a half a mile away from the Georgia line. Lost over $2 million in sales. In the first 59 days this year, so the month of January and February, they lost already another $200,000 in sales.
And you're saying it's based on the fact that they can't buy, they won't, that buying it here is taxed, and where they travel.
You're basically double taxing them. Where they're not in a drive-out exemption, they have to pay this taxes of the city and county in Alabama that they're making that purchase from.
Where they purchase.
And to the state of Alabama.
All right,
So
I got that. I follow that
Yeah.
part.
So then when you go back to, let's say, I'll use an example. One of our bordering counties in Georgia is Harris County. Their tax rate is 8%. So when they go back and they title that camper or motorhome where they live in Georgia, then they have to turn around and pay another 8% of the total purchase on top of what they've already paid for Alabama, because they don't get that drive-out exemption or that credit. So if it was an automobile, they wouldn't pay that 3.5% to the city, the 1% to the county, or the 2% to the state. They would just go back to their county in Georgia and pay that 8% one time.
Okay. And this has resulted in a loss of funding in Alabama. I guess what I'm trying, I'm slow. I'm trying to connect these dots.
I would say from a loss in funding, it would be more of lost sales and revenue in the RV dealerships or the RV industry throughout the state. Now, not everybody is still saying, no, I'm not buying it. I mean, sometimes you may have the dealerships that's willing to cut their prices or their profit margins even more, whatever their markup is in their RVs on their dealership lots, to offset the price, but it's still a double taxation.
So your business is a travel trailer?
Oh, I don't have a business in the travel trailer business. Absolutely not.
I thought you were saying that you had lost funds.
No, the individual company in my district or in my city.
Okay, all right.
I don't have a CDO license. I'm not qualified to drive one of those, nor do I want to. It's too hard to maintain and keep up.
I just wanted to make sure I was hearing correctly because there's so much noise in here. And then, being nosy, I'm just trying to figure out how this will make a difference. Because the only thing I saw was on page 7. And it tells the person in terms of how they qualify, and that basically takes care of it. So a travel trailer, camper, or house car. What's a house car?
An RV or a fifth wheel you may pull behind it, being back of your truck. And this language, Representative Hall, that we put in here is exactly the language that's utilized, or the way we identified on page 7, lines 21 through 27, is the same information that's required for our automobile dealers in the state of Alabama when they offer the drive-out exemptions. This is the same thing they do. So the RV dealers will be just doing the same thing, one, that the automobile dealers are doing today when they do a sale to someone that's not a resident of the state of Alabama. And number 2, this is just going back to as it was prior to the legislation in 2015.
The bottom line says no such proof is required in this for automobile, motorcycle, truck, trailers.
Yeah, they still have the drive-out exemption form, but for us, you got to validate for the RV dealers, show me basically your driver's license. Where's your proof of residency, basically, to show that you are out of state? Because if you're still in state, you're going to pay that city and that county and the 2% state of Alabama before you make that purchase. So it won't change anything if you're an in-state purchase and you're an in-state resident. It's just if you're an in-state purchase for out-of-state resident. Thank you.
And the chair thanks the lady. All right, members, the question before us now is going to be the adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote will be aye. Opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. voting on the BIR. All the members voted. All the members voted. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 99 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. The BIR is adopted. And Chairman Blackshear, we're back on the bill now.
All right, Mr. Speaker, if there's no further questions, I move for final passage.
All right, we're in final passage of House Bill 382. The gentleman from Jefferson, Representative Scott, speaking on the bill now. Final passage.
How you doing, Mr. Blackshear?
Wonderful.
Will you yield?
I'm reluctant to you because I know the math whiz you are now, so, but yes, I reluctantly yield.
Well, my question is, I understand the process, and I understand that there's an increase of sales within the state, but that also means that there's a loss of sales revenue to the state. My question is, will there be other benefits associated with the advancement or the growth of sales without the sales tax within the state?
Well, hopefully, what we'll see is you should see if the, let's just take the example, the $2 million, the local one that I had that they lost. I mean, they wouldn't close all $2 million of that. You know that. So let's just quantify that out and say 50%, $1 million of it. Well, that's going to be an increased business license fee they'll pay at the municipality because it's more of total gross sales. So that'll be one increase there. Number two, it won't be a business shutting down in the state of Alabama, drawing our unemployment numbers going up, and also a business shutting down and moving to another state, and then our customers are going there to make the purchases.
Yes, so in essence, there will be benefits to the state
Absolutely.
for providing this exemption. And I imagine that will mean more development of these mobile homes within the state?
Well, I would hope so. You know, you would hope you would see, you know, we actually are hoping some of the money we just passed, if you remember in the last ARPA funds, were improvements to our state parks. So maybe it would drive up tourism with that, more people purchasing motorhomes now that may be out of state of Alabama, wanting to come to spend their times and bring their motorhomes to our state parks, other areas we have in the state.
Well, thank you for your explanation.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson, Representative Rogers, speaking on final passage.
They were trying to tell me about it before I got here. How much money do the other state lose?
That will be an unidentified amount because we don't track that today. For like cars, we don't know how many cars that we sell across this state that actually leave. So it's a number that you.
Yeah, but anytime you're doing this, it got to be a loss of revenue somewhere. So where we losing money? We losing money somewhere. I'm looking at my cost of it.
Well, I would say if you lose anything, I would say you may be moving it from one bucket to the other. So I think using the word lose may be kind of a debatable term on that, but it would be your 2% to the state if you want to put that there, because again, by pulling them out of the drive-out exemption, we were forcing them to pay that money when they shouldn't have been paying it beforehand.
So in other words, if they bought a trailer in Alabama, and they bought the car in Alabama, it would ordinarily be a tax on it. That money stay here in Alabama, right?
Right.
Hey, but explain it to the House, because the question they asked me back there is how, about the money we losing. So that makes sense. See, when he explained it, makes sense, Mr. Speaker. But I don't. You all tell everybody about that, because that's. Explain this. Explain that.
I'll yield the mic to you.
Yield back to him.
And Representative Ingram's in great help on this bill because he actually sponsored the bill in 2015. So
explain.
He has some institutional knowledge on the topic.
And he will.
May I yield a few minutes?
Yield the time you can, yes.
So what we've had is, when we passed this bill in 15, it has caused a lot of people buying motorhomes to go to other states, because a motorhome may cost you $500,000.
Right.
And so now they're going to Mississippi or Kentucky or wherever to buy, wherever it's got the lowest tax. And so instead of us gaining that 2%, actually we're going to sell, our dealers sell more vehicles, and in return I think it's going to be better for the state. Now whether we're going to gain any more money, I doubt. But a lot of our motorhomes are made up in North Alabama, so it definitely increased the sales there.
So it'll be a white. So we manufacture. We're gonna make it on the manufacturing side.
I would say so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
All right. That makes a lot of sense.
And travel trailers, motorhomes, and fifth wheels are so much more expensive than an automobile. You know?
Okay. That makes sense. I just wonder how it gonna balance off there. Now I see it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Ingram.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. All right, members, the question before us now is going to be on final passage of House Bill 382. If you're in favor of this bill, your vote is aye. Opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 98 yeas, 1 nay, 1 abstention, and House Bill 382 is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, body.
All righty. And the chair thanks the gentleman. Clerk, call the next bill on special order.
On page 40 of the calendar, House Bill number 339 by Representative Estes, relating to law enforcement.
And Representative Estes, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, you hear other colleagues stand in this well many times and talk about this is a very simple bill. Well, this is one time it's actually true. What HB 339 would do, the District Attorney Association drew this to my attention, that it's currently against Alabama law, of course, to impersonate a police officer. Well, we do not include federal officers in that ban. So all this does is add federal law enforcement officers under the state code ban of impersonating an officer. And at the appropriate time, I will have a floor amendment, Mr. Speaker.
All right, I believe the question before us is adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote is aye. Opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted? All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. There are 100 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstention. The BIR is adopted. And Representative Estes, we're back on the bill.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment came to me from LSA just a few hours after we passed this through Public Safety and Homeland Security last week. As all of you know, anytime you dip into existing code, the existing code has to be listed in the bill. That was accidentally omitted. I've shared this with a few members so you'd have a chance to look at this in advance. So the amendment from the floor is simply making certain that existing code is listed in the bill.
All right, and the clerk received, now is this an amendment or okay, floor amendment. All right, clerk received the floor amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 339 by Representative Estes.
All right, and you won't give me further explanation on that amendment?
Unless anyone has any questions, I would ask for Pat.
All right, seeing no questions, then I think we're ready to vote on the floor amendment. If you're in favor of this amendment, your vote will be aye. If you oppose, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted? All the members voted.
Tommy.
All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 101 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and the floor amendment is adopted. And now, Representative Estes, we're back on the bill.
Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions, I'd ask for the passage of the bill as amended.
All right, seeing no questions, we're voting on final passage. If you're in favor of this bill, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 101 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and House Bill 339 is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, body.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. Clerk, call the next bill on special order.
On page 36 of the calendar, House Bill number 395 with amendment by Representative Lovern relating to alcoholic beverages.
And Representative Lovern, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the body, HB 395 would create a new type of alcohol beverage license that would authorize certain public universities that have a hospitality management program to produce, transfer, and sell those beverages. It supports the culinary sciences and food, beverage, lodging, and guest services. And if no further questions, I ask for the BIR.
All right, I believe the question is the adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote is aye. Opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 88 yeas, 4 nays, 8 abstentions. The BIR is adopted. And Representative Lovern, we're back on the bill now. I'm showing a committee amendment that you have.
Yes, we did have an amendment.
Can you explain that?
1 second. Need just 1 second on the committee amendment.
That'll be fine.
Sure, sure.
You got
Sir, we're getting a copy of the amendment just to be specific.
That'd be fine.
What the amendment did is where it wouldn't be an overproduction, it's one that would cap the number of production that could be produced at the facility. So it helped appease the alcohol industry, and so it wouldn't turn into a mass production facility. So that's all the amendment does.
All right. And okay, let's go ahead and we've got a light on. We can go ahead and start the conversation. Members, you've heard partial explanation on the amendment that came from the committee. And Representative Harbison? All right, well, why don't you come on down? That'd be great. Gentlemen, now, you've got the amendment? You've got a different amendment. All right, well, let's wait because we don't want it. Yeah, okay, good. All right, go ahead and give explanation now to the committee amendment.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to double check the clerical on that. So what the amendment we did in the committee would cap it at 60,000 barrels production, and state and local taxes must be paid when sold. And that's what the amendment does.
Okay. All right, members, you've heard the committee amendment, and if you're in favor of this committee, Representative Rogers, you want to speak on this amendment? On the bill. Okay, let's go ahead and get the amendment passed from the committee. We're voting on the committee amendment. If you're in favor of the committee amendment, your vote will be aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Do y'all have a question on this issue?
I think it's just some
your group
hazing
over there,
going
or is
on.
this okay? All right. We're voting on the committee amendment. If you're in favor of that committee amendment, your vote will be aye. If you oppose, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voting. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. There are 86 yeas, 0 nays, 15 abstentions, and the committee amendment is adopted. And now, Representative Lover, we're back on the bill, on the floor.
Yes, sir, and I have a friendly amendment that Representative Harbison.
All right, the gentleman from Coleman is recognized. Representative Harbison.
I just want to tell you, I appreciate you being so easy to work with and easygoing all the time. You're all right to work with. So I appreciate your friendship and appreciate what you do here in the House of Representatives. You know, I think this is going to be a good opportunity for these universities. And after we had this bill in committee the other day, I had a conversation with the president of Wallace State, which is in Coleman and is really in Representative Shea's district. But Dr. Karlowicz, the president there, she does a great job. And you know, I like to think we've got the best two-year college in Coleman, but I know everybody thinks the same about their own. But I know she tries to stay ahead and be up to date with stuff. And one thing that she asked, you know, this bill simply pertained to the universities, and we wanted to ask for 3 two-year college to be licensed, and the chancellor and the president would sign the application, and it would be the same requirements as the universities. So it would be up to the chancellor to make the decision as to which ones, and as long as they have a campus police, they've got to have a police department to qualify. So,
all right, clerk receive the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 395 by Representative Harbison.
And now you're recognized on that. Go ahead.
So basically, on the amendment, this would allow 3 licenses for the two-year college system. And it, like I said, same guidelines, same regulations as the universities. The president and the chancellor would sign off on the applications, and those two-year colleges would be required to have a police department before they could apply.
And I appreciate you bringing this. You've been great to work with. You're certainly looking out for your district and opportunities there, and this is a friendly amendment.
All right, members, it's a friendly amendment offered on the floor by Representative Harbison, and we're ready to vote on it. If you're in favor of this floor amendment, your vote will be aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 81 yeas, 5 nays, 13 abstentions, and the floor amendment is adopted.
Thank you.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. All right, Representative Lovin, we're back on the bill now as amended. And the chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson, Representative Rogers. You're recognized. We're on the bill now. Final passage on the bill.
Any college, university can do this, right? Just ones with offering this degree, right?
They have to have a program that deals with hospitality, a formal school for either culinary arts or for training to hospitality.
Well, you know, I'm wondering right now, does Alabama State offer this? Or Tuskegee, or one of those colleges besides that? I know University of Alabama offers it. I'm wondering right now, does the Alabama State or Alabama A&M, somebody can tell me, will Tuskegee offer the same thing? Big point. What about Alabama State? Anybody at Alabama State can say, hear this from Alabama State?
I'm not sure if someone else can answer that, but it clearly spells out the requirements in there now, and so they can see if that's an area they want to go, the requirements they would need to fulfill to be able to apply for that license.
I would worry me now, you know, the high, eight can, don't they have to prove what they can offer at a university or something like that? I mean, eight used to Cloud used to tell you whether or not you can offer certain courses at certain universities. I have oversight. Yeah, oversight. I'm just wondering, can Alabama State, Alabama State, I know Auburn, Alabama got it. I know Auburn got it now, but I guess they can get it, but they got to go through the agency to get it, right?
Sir, any of the four-year schools, and with the amendment of 3 two-year schools with approval of the president and the chancellor, the 2-year system can apply for it. But under the 4-year schools, if they meet the requirements of this program, and then can apply a license with the signature of the president, and can apply, and they can begin one of these programs and start if that's the direction they'd want to go as a school.
Well, I just want to make sure that it seems like a good idea, and I want to make sure everybody gets you. I mean, I'm glad off the amendment for the junior college, but it's a good idea. I just want to make sure that I'm assuming UAB gonna do it. If not, I'm gonna call them after a few minutes whether they offering this program or not.
Well, I'm glad it's noted in the record that you acknowledge it's a good idea. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, it's money for the schools. I mean, it's a good idea. I just wondering, will everybody get a chance to participate? Going to be able to participate in it?
Well, beyond any money, it's teaching responsible atmosphere for this. You're sending people out to work in the hospitality industry that are going to be around this type of facility and this type of environment. It teaches them how to manage, operate those in a successful way.
Can't imagine how much they can sell at a football game, man. A big football game coming to town, hey, the school gonna make tons of money. I mean, that's why can anybody tell me whether or not, do we have anybody here from Alabama State? Hey, it's in Montgomery. You from, Alabama State offer this?
Well, someone just sent me a thing where at Alabama State they do offer a management, hospitality, and tourism program through their College of Business. So it may be something they could address and look at, apply, and see if it meets the synergy of their student body and curriculum.
This is a gold mine for a university, and I think it's a good idea. I know. Everybody want to get in on this. I just remind them to make sure they do, because it's a gold mine. Can you imagine that a big football game, man? Alabama Auburn game?
Well,
they play in Florida, something like that.
Well, there's other regulations through athletics for different facilities, but this would set it up for the teaching portion of it in the area.
Oh, I know all that sounds good. Teaching portion sounds good. Yeah. All for my teaching, but it's still a moneymaker.
Right.
I mean, you can say teaching all that kind of stuff, but this is a real moneymaker for a college.
It can help supplement. Sure could.
Universities, I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure that it's just a good idea. Everybody get a chance to participate in it. I want anybody to go there, they get missing out on a good deal like this.
Well, we try to clear it out where anybody that wants to meet those requirements could apply for that license under the 4-year system.
So, I want to tell you,
2-year system.
It's one of the best bills I've seen this session.
Well,
I just want to make sure everybody get a chance to participate in it. That's all.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. All right, members, the question now is on final passage of House Bill 395. If you're in favor of this bill, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Voting on final passage, House Bill 395 as amended.
No heart.
All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 76 yeas, 8 nays, 12 abstentions, and House Bill 395 is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body.
Yes, sir. Chair thanks the gentleman. Clerk, call the next bill on special order.
On page 3 of the calendar, House Bill number 187 by Representative Treadaway relating to controlled substances.
And Chairman Treadaway, you recognize.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. What this bill does, it removes the fentanyl strips from the drug paraphernalia laws, which right now, currently to have a fentanyl strip is a violation, which is a misdemeanor. Fentanyl is the greatest cause of our fatal drug overdoses in Alabama today. Fentanyl, an extremely potent opioid, is showing up not just in heroin, but in other drugs such as cocaine, methamphetamine, and counterfeit pills, including potential stimulants or ADHD pills obtained by students to stay awake as they study for exams. As a result, a growing number of people who are not opioid or heroin users are dying from fentanyl overdoses. Jefferson County alone went from 200 overdoses last year to 400, and over 300 plus were overdoses on fentanyl. These strips will be available for folks to use them, and they can test whether it be a pill or something that they're fearful of, and hopefully save a life and get somebody into long-term rehab, or save a life on somebody that's taking a pill that they don't think's an opioid, but could be an ADHD pill that could have fentanyl in it. So with that, I would move for the BIR.
All right, I believe that's the question before us, is the adoption of the BIR. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Clark County, Representative Jackson, first person speaking on the BIR.
I thought I was going to sell food. And I thought I had it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to let my chairman know that even in committee, I supported this bill. This is a lifesaver.
Yeah.
It removed those strips from the restriction and keeping people from being charged with them as a paraphernalia. And there's a lot of sickness in this state when it comes to drug addiction. And this is going to help save a lot of lives. And I thank you for bringing this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. All right, members, question now before us is the adoption of the BIR. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 98 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and the BIR is adopted. And Chairman Treadaway, we're back on the bill now.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to substitute House Bill 187 for Senate Bill 168. It's identical.
All right, the motion before us is for the substitute.
Saves
And
lives. That's all.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, then we'll bring up the substitute for the Senate.
On page 17 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 168 by
McClendon.
Senator McClendon relating to controlled substances.
All right, members, we're on Senate Bill 168 now, and the question before us will be the adoption of the BIR on the Senate bill. If you're in favor of the BIR, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. All the members voted. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 99 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. The BIR is adopted. And now we're back on the bill.
I move for final passage.
All right, we're on final passage of Senate Bill 168. If you're in favor of that bill, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. We're on final passage of Senate Bill 168. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 100 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and Senate Bill 168 is passed.
I believe at this time, Mr. Speaker, I indefinitely moved to indefinitely postpone House Bill 187.
All right, and the motion before us to indefinitely postpone House Bill 187. Are there any objections? Hearing none, then that motion is accepted. And the chair thanks the gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members.
All right. And now the chair recognizes the pro tem for a motion.
Well, Mr. Speaker, you've given us the answer to the earlier posed question. I move that the House stand in recess until 7 p.m.
All right. Okay. All right. Seven. I think it's 7:30.
I'm sorry, yes.
7:30. That'll give members. And we hope
the
that
first motion, and now the motion is that we stand in recess till 7:30.
we'll have one and a half hour break for you to have dinner and be part of the the festivities going on, but please, please try to come back, and we'll get back on this calendar. This is a Wednesday night, y'all, so we've already got rooms, so let's come back and do the people's work. All right, any objections to that motion? All in favor of that motion? Oh, hey, a little weak there, a little weak. All right, we are in recess till 7:30.